It's no secret that Sonic fans would very much like to see Jim Carrey's Robotnik return for Sonic 4. While the ending of Sonic 3 does make it difficult to see how Robotnik could feasibly return, the same was said about his return in Sonic 3 following the release of Sonic 2. As such, there are a few different ways in which Jim Carrey might still be able to return to Sonic 4, regardless of the most recent movie's ending. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like and comment on the video, and if you're able, please become a channel member, which really helps us out. Anyway, back to the video. So, at the end of Sonic 3, Jim Carrey's Dr. Ivo Robotnik defeated his grandfather and turned the destructive power of the Eclipse Cannon away from Earth. He then seemingly sacrifices himself at the movie's end to destroy the cannon, saying his goodbyes to the world and to the ever-loyal Agent Stone. Keeping that in mind, here are a few different ways Jim Carrey could still come back for Sonic 4, and here are my 5 theories. Dr. Robotnik survived Sonic 3's Arc Explosion. The easiest solution is that Robotnik simply survived the explosion of the Eclipse Cannon at the end of Sonic 3. After all, Robotnik's survival following the battle at the end of Sonic 2 was never fully explained, so it's not as if Sonic 4 would need to spend much time explaining how Robotnik survived this time around. Perhaps it will just be common fact that Robotnik always comes back no matter how dire the defeat or apparent his demise. Furthermore, it's also worth noting that Sonic 3's post-credits scene confirms Shadow survived the Arc Explosion. So why not Ivo? Dr. Robotnik cloned himself before Sonic 4. Given his genius intellect, it's not out of the question to suggest that Robotnik might have discovered a way to clone himself in the Sonic franchise. This could serve as a fitting contingency to work around his apparent demise in Sonic 3. At the same time, it could also be an easy way to retroactively explain how he survived the end of Sonic 2 as well. Likewise, the idea was potentially set up in Sonic 3 when Robotnik claims he's going to clone Agent Stone. Jim Carrey will play another Robotnik relative in Sonic 4. In the existing Sonic franchise, the 3 most prominent members of the Robotnik family are Ivo, his grandfather Gerald, and Maria Robotnik, Ivo's cousin and Gerald's granddaughter. As such, all 3 were featured in Sonic 3 with Jim Carrey playing both Ivo and Gerald. Keeping that in mind, perhaps Sonic 4 could debut Jim Carrey as another Robotnik seeking revenge for Ivo's death, perhaps a brother or Ivo's father. Jim Carrey will return as Dr. Robotnik through Sonic's multiverse. It's also worth noting that the multiverse does exist in the Sonic franchise, with alternate realities being referred to as zones. One such reality was home to the cast of Sonic characters featured in the animated series Sonic Boom, an alternate reality that also had its own separate Robotnik from the one featured in the Prime Zone. To that end, perhaps Jim Carrey could return in Sonic 4 as an alternate Robotnik who's arrived in the zone that's home of the live-action movies. And finally, Jim Carrey will voice Metal Sonic in Sonic 4. One of the most exciting and less fantastical ideas is that Jim Carrey could return not as Ivo Robotnik, but as the voice of Metal Sonic. As seen in the first of Sonic 3's post-credit scenes, multiple iterations of Metal Sonics are shown surrounding Sonic before they're taken out by Amy Rose. To that end, Metal Sonic has very much been set up as the leading antagonist in Sonic 4. In the original Sonic games, Metal Sonic was one of Robotnik's greatest creations capable of matching the real Sonic's speed and abilities. Continuing to come back stronger than before, Metal Sonic is widely considered to be one of Sonic's most dangerous rivals, and to that end, it would be very exciting to see Jim Carrey voicing the mechanical embodiment of Robotnik's legacy in Sonic the Hedgehog 4, allowing Robotnik's sacrifice at the end of Sonic 3 to remain intact.